call this meeting to order. Franklin Public Library Trustees meeting. We'll start with a pledge of allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Agnes?
Here.
Iris? Tom? Lennon? No. Nick, I'm here. Ed Ward? Here.
Present.
John?
Here.
Clyde? NBC?
Here.
Mayor Kramer is not here, and January. Here. Okay. This meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, also known as the Sunshine Law. Schedule and notification of this meeting have been provided to the Courier News, the Home News Tribune, and the Franklin Township Clerk. Copies have been posted in the library's vestibule and are also available at the reference desk. I'd like to entertain a motion to open the public portion of this meeting.
So moved. Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Okay, this is the public portion of the meeting. And
As always, there's been no meeting, so I have nothing to say. Perhaps you can, if I have anything to say, you can defer them to later in the meeting. I didn't come here with a particular agenda.
okay. If you do, signify somehow when
Okay.
we try to work on it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, seeing no further comment, I move the public portion be closed. Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, public portion is closed. Is there a motion to accept the minutes of the October 25th meeting?
Okay.
NBC, is there a second?
Second.
Edward, second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The minutes are accepted. January, would you like to present your director's reports?
As usual, let's begin with the financials.
Yes. Nice color.
You're looking at three of them. There's the first one should be for all the branches together. The second one is Franklin Park broken out by itself, and then the third page is revenue.
I think we've all had a chance to look at this. Does anyone have a question about any particular item on this, on any of these 3 pages? My usual question to the director, is there anything that should be pointed out as unusual in this pattern?
There's nothing unusual.
Thank you. Would you like to present the
Yes.
activities of
Yes,
the
okay.
program reports?
On October 23rd, we participated in the statewide library snapshot day, and I gave you copies of pictures from that day and the comments that people made. We didn't edit the comments, so there's going to be misspellings and things like that in there, but everybody was very complimentary, and I think that the selection of the photographs that I gave you gives you a good indication of how busy we are and how many different types of activities we have here, and everybody looks pretty happy, I would say. And in addition to that, we had 1,951 people coming to our 107 programs. And an initiative that we're taking, I've mentioned before, but I wanted to highlight it this time, is we're going to do automatic renewal of people's library cards. In the past, when your library card expired, which happens after 3 years, somebody would say something to you when you're going to check out a book and you renew your card. We're going to try automatic renewals, that we will automatically renew it, but what we're going to do is send out a postcard to the person, telling them, oh, your card's been renewed, and it's gonna give us a chance to do some publicity.
Yeah.
And that way also, if the postcard comes back, then we'll know the person has moved. So it's a twofold operation that we're gonna do.
Question, do postcards have automatic return service?
Yes, we checked on that. I was concerned about that.
So it is first class mail?
Yeah, it's first class.
Okay.
And then the final thing I'll mention is I gave you this time 4 articles.
Oh, yes.
One about the National Novel Writing Month and the workshop for that, which I thought was interesting, and writing is a part of libraries. And then one on the Florida libraries, how they were responding to Hurricane Irma. And one on tapping shelf members, staff members' expertise. And another one on gender gap, which I included because libraries are still predominantly female. So gender gap disparities are interesting to us.
You're right. Yeah.
You did leave us hanging on this, what this Kansas City chap did to get arrested.
Oh, did Oh, you
Well,
weren't
he's
supposed to be reading
acquitted.
that.
He's acquitted, but we don't know what he's acquitted of.
I'll find out for you.
He's,
I'll
he's
I'll get you the rest of the article.
It's okay. He was a library personnel, so.
Okay.
Okay.
So January, do you think among the public libraries there's a hard time finding good qualified librarians or media specialists to fill
No,
positions?
no, I think it's the reverse.
It's the reverse.
I think the job market is still, it's hard to find a job.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's hard to find an opening, yeah.
Okay.
So it's nice for us because we have lots of qualified applicants.
Uh-huh.
But it's bad for the people just graduating from school, trying to find a job.
And for the school districts, it's the exact opposite.
Yeah, that's what,
We have a hard time finding certified media specialists with state of New Jersey certification. We recently hired a person that lives in Franklin Township who worked in New York Public Library in the Bronx.
Uh-huh.
And she has her degree in library science, and she's going through emergency certification so we can employ her. So yeah, it's a real struggle in regards
That's
to finding.
interesting.
Yeah,
And I
finding
didn't know there
school.
was such a thing as emergency certification.
teachers can get that.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Teachers as well.
It goes to, I believe, either the county superintendent or the state
Goes to state,
superintendent.
and then the county signs off with the district, and that's how they apply to get emergency certification. Then they have to find a mentor and take
And do the
additional
re-
courses.
okay.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was just wondering about that. Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
Superintendent mentioned the same thing, that they had trouble.
Yeah.
um,
'Cause we had 3 openings, and we filled 2, and one with emergency certification, and we got 1 more, and I got 2 potential candidates. Once again, one of them is in attending Rutgers in the library science program,
Uh-huh.
and one works in New York. So they're coming from industry. Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Food for thought.
Any other questions concerning the director's program report? Okay. Thank you, January.
You're welcome.
We'll move on. There is no president's report at this time from myself. Is there any correspondence or communication? I have not seen any, but no, there's none. We shall move on to old business. The first item on the agenda is discussion of the cost analysis, which January has prepared. I think this was requested last meeting or the
Right.
meeting before that
Last
by
meeting.
one of our trustees, who's also the mayor. And so here we are, the blue pages. This, as I recall, was an exercise to determine how well we could afford to get a third branch, operate a third branch. January, would you like to make any comments on? I guess it's all there in blue and black, but black and blue, but.
All numbers.
What I did overall was with the costs, I tried to inflate them, and with the revenue, I tried to deflate it.
Cooking the books.
Cooking the books.
Conservatively.
So, what I did with like the interest income, I just assumed that if we used it up to build a new building, that we wouldn't have as much money in savings,
Yes.
so there'd be less interest. And I also downgraded the fee money that we get, about $5,000, and the DVD memberships. That was the other things are set; they can't be changed. So the appropriation and state aid remains the same. And then I took the worst case, like maybe not the best wording, but that would be with the southern branch still in the shopping center, and the northern branch. So we'd still be paying taxes and rent, and that gave us a balance of $17,688. And then the best case, where the southern branch would be in its new building, and so no taxes, no rent, and that balance would be $121,765. And then I showed at the bottom, generally the library budgets show a surplus. So you can see that, and this is without having a third branch. Past 2 years, we've had a surplus, and the year before, 3 years back, we had a deficit. That's to give you an idea. And then, of course, in the back, I did a cost to build and or set up 2 branches. And a lot of this information was taken from the cost of setting up the Franklin Park branch. And on some of the figures, like for the building, with the $2 million for the building, I got a quote of $400 a square foot from the architect doing the youth center. I got $275 to $325 from a library architect, and $150 a square foot from Van Cleef. So I was trying to give everybody an idea of where, if I could, where these figures came from. And you can
Lots of work and quite helpful.
Yeah.
And, I think we're going to find that the $400 per square foot
I think that's the,
is more like it. $150 is totally unreasonable for a public building. It might be okay for a basic residential.
warehouse.
No, a basic residential, a lower income house maybe, but not for a public library with prevailing wage rules. Okay, thank you. Now, have you presented this to the mayor?
The mayor has seen it, and the township
Okay.
manager has seen it.
Yes.
The mayor wanted to see a bigger surplus. He wanted it to be 3 to 5. He thought it should be 3 to 5%.
January, what about interest costs? Were we proposing to float bonds for the construction or pay out of our surplus? So no interest costs. We're paying to pay cash out of our surplus for the buildings, the operating setup costs, the setup costs.
Both options have been discussed. I always kind of thought we would just be paying out of the surplus.
That's good,
Yeah.
okay. No, yep.
There is a question that I had at one point, and that is, how can we convert some of the surplus, which is, as I understand it, dedicated for construction of building or branch, to operating in case some year we were running into a deficit. How could we stem the tide? And that question is still up in the air. I don't know the answer to it. But we will have more surplus than we
What,
spent.
is the surplus dedicated under any kind of ordinance or law
It's temporarily restricted
by
of
township
it,
or
by-
state?
by the library board.
By the library board,
Yeah.
okay.
That's us, I think.
Yeah, that's you. Yeah.
So I think your question might be a combination of a legal question and a public finance officer's
Well, at some point, we should probably get a better answer on that.
Okay,
At the
yes.
moment, I don't think we need it.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
But in general, I think our intention is to pay, as
Okay,
January
that's-
said, open our wallets and
That's
just
great.
pay out.
There's no interest carrying costs going forward, so that's great.
Yeah, well, the most we're getting on FDIC insured investments is what, a percent or 1.25%, and a bonding would be, what, 3%, so,
Doesn't make sense.
doesn't,
No,
yeah. Okay. Is there any other old business? Is there any new business? Seeing none, I'd like to entertain a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of property negotiation discussion.
Second.
NBC and Ed. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Nay. Okay. You don't have to take that out.
She's coming back.
Okay, would somebody like to make a motion to exit executive session?
Motion to exit executive session.
Is there a second? Okay. Those in favor of coming out?
Aye.
Executive session? Aye. Opposed? Okay, we're back in the public session. Confirmation of our next meeting date will be December 27th. Unless,
Yeah.
it's always possible that special meetings might be called at some time, but our next regularly scheduled meeting is December 27th. Prior to adjournment, I just wonder, is there any, does anyone have any public statements anyone would like to make?
No, oh, actually, I do have one question. A couple of meetings ago, there was a discussion about this library becoming a part of the Next Chapter Book Club.
I don't know where that is.
Oh, okay, it's not gonna happen.
The outreach librarian that we had twins. So we've had a change in personnel, so some stuff is still.
Oh, pending. That's fine. Thank you.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
All in favor?
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Who made the motion to adjourn?
Oh, I did.
And who seconded?
John.
Okay.
And I can't remember, I turned it.